In this video we will learn how to undo any changes made with Git. In order to undo any changes, we first need to understand at which level they are located, because this affects which options Git can offer us. Here we have several levels, depending on where we'll be using certain Git commands. Let's begin with the simplest option. We have some changes that are present in the file system. Let's say that we have some file and we haven't done anything to it yet. We haven't added it to index, haven't committed, haven't pushed anything. There is a simple file and we need to get rid of it. This situation is quite common. It's often encountered in programming when we edit a huge number of files. When we are changing the concept of the system and conclude that the current path leads to nowhere and we need to go back. When we edit a single file, nothing is really stopping us from viewing its original content, copy, insert and save. But imagine if we changed 50 files. Inserting content on 50 files can be quite costly. For that, Git has a special command, which is git checkout. How does it work? Let us edit the files that we already have in the repository and see what can be done with a single command. So we take our README file and now let's add a little more content here and save it. We also have the lyrics that we are writing. Let's add more content in here. So I changed two files and now I want to revert to the way things were before. Open Git, and now the first command I'm going to use is called git status. It will tell us about what's happening and will help us decide which command to use next. What is git status telling us? It says that there are two files, readme and the song.txt, and that they are changed. It offers us two options. If you want to commit them, use git add, and if you want to undo everything and discard all changes, then use the command git checkout and then pass on the file name to the parameters. In other words, what I can do here, I can use the command git checkout and input the name of the file, readme. Let's call git status one more time. Now git status says that only one modified file is song.txt and readme is not mentioned anywhere. Go back to the notepad and we see that the content of the readme file was changed, meaning our content, which we added here, the line of the song content has disappeared. That way I can roll back any changes in a single file. But let's see now how to do in batch, because in a single file we can do it manually. Let's go back to our two modified files. In order to fix the states of all files at the same time, to put everything back, we will use the command git checkout, and as a parameter we will input a full stop. A full stop means to check out all the files from the current directory and below. Since I'm currently in the root directory, it will revert the original state of all files known to Git. In reality, remember that this command does not have any opposite effect. If we do this once, bring back the content that was there before the checkout, it will be impossible. If I did a huge chunk of work, spent all day making these changes and then called git checkout with a full stop, it's all gone. There is no way to bring anything back. Now let's call the git status once again and see what happens. Everything is clean, the master branch, nothing to commit, the working directory is clear. Go back to notepad, reload the song, reload git demo, readme, and we can see that everything is back in its place. So now if we are in the working directory, the command git checkout restores the files to a state that was known by Git. There is also a command git clean which deletes new files. That means if we made some changes in the existing files, which we have committed earlier, we need checkout, but it often happens that new files added. For example, let's say we have a file song.docx appear, a Microsoft Word file, and there's also a new Excel table, for example. So another new file is added. These files are new to Git, meaning Git doesn't know anything about them. Let's try to remove them. Go back to Git bash and select Git status. What is Git telling us? There are two untracked files, which are new for Git. Now let's try to alter these files, roll them back using git checkout. Nothing happened. Why can Git roll them back? Because they don't have a version. These files are new, they weren't committed before. They don't have any previous versions and Git doesn't know anything about them. There are no history records regarding these files, so they can be removed using the command git clean, which has very many flags. I will be using 3 flags at the same time. It's X, which means that I will be ignoring potential applicable rules of the file gitignore, which we will be discussing in a separate video. D means that I will be removing directories, among other things, if they are not known by Git, and F means force. If I don't call the command F, then actually nothing will happen. You see, git clean itself doesn't actually do anything because there is a default setting in Git require force, which means that in order to perform a cleanup, we must use the force flag. The second can be changed, but we won't do that. We will simply add the force flag, so the total is X, D, and F. And now we can see that these 2 files were deleted. Let's confirm that using the git status, the working directory is clean, the files are gone. Keep in mind that this command also cannot be undone. Generally in Git, there are very few commands that can be undone. You should get into the general mindset that what's done once will later be difficult to undo. Okay, so we figured out how to work with the working directory. We might land in a situation where a file was created, modified, and then added to the index. Let's emulate a situation like that right now. Let's add some content in here and save the file. Next, I will add the file to the index. I call git status, see the modified file, and I add it to the commit, meaning I'm ready to commit it. Git status will tell us that the file is currently in the staging area and it's now ready to be committed. If I call git clean now, nothing will happen because now this file is not new to Git. If I call git checkout accordingly, nothing will happen as well because the file is in the index now and we need to pull it out of index first and then figure out the way to roll it back. Actually, Git gives us a hint. Use the git command git reset file to unstage it. How else can we do? We can open the Git GUI and from the staging area in the lower panel, click the icon and move the file to unstaged. Here I simply clicked on it and pulled it to unstaged. Now I call git status once more and I see that this is marked in red as modified. And now I can roll it back using the command git checkout and now it's gone. If we are at the index level, in order to change a state, to revert the file to original version, we can use the command git reset using the console, or we can simply drag it out of the index into the working directory. And the next situation that might occur, that we might be faced with some commands we might find useful, is when we didn't simply create a file or modified it and add it to the index, but we also committed it. Now, how do we delete a commit? This is the most popular question among newbie developers. I did the commit, now how can I undo it? Let's emulate this situation. Once again, we will add some content to our song and we will commit it using the Git GUI to make things faster. Okay, I'm writing the commit message. Here's the commit I performed. Okay, the commit is done. Let's check using the git log that it really exists. We have it right here, freshly made. And now I realize that it needs to be rolled back. How should we go about doing that? In this situation, we have the following two basic options. The first one, if I realize that the commit was mostly fine, meaning that overall the content in the commit was okay, but for example, I forgot something, so now I need to add something to the commit. Then I won't delete all the information, I need to add something new to it. In this case, I can use the command git commit with the flag amend, which allows me to add the content. If I realize that basically this entire version is wrong and needs to be deleted, then I will again need to use the command git reset. Let's see how things are gonna work in the first situation. So we have a commit ready and we need to add something to it. I add one more line and save it. Next I can do one of the following. Either run git commit with the amend flag, or alternatively I can turn on the amend checkbox through the git GUI. By default, when the git GUI starts, it offers us to create a new commit. But right here we have a radio button that's set on a new commit, and I can switch to amend last commit, which means updating the previous commit, the most recent one. And here's my previous commit, so our song.txt exists in both in unstaged and in staged. Staged contains that what's in previous commit, unstaged, what can be committed now. So I simply click on this icon and everything is moved to staged. Okay, let's set a new verse. We can either leave the commit message as is or change its contents. Let's change it and make a new commit. Let's start by checking the history. What did we have in the history? We had a commit that was performed on 25th of October and the next commit that was created on the 1st of November, which is then I added a new verse. Let's check the log now. We can see the same situation. Our second to last commit was from the 25th of October and today's commit, but with the new content. So I simply updated it. And now let's imagine that we don't need this commit entirely. We don't need to amend it, we need just to delete it. To delete a commit that haven't been pushed to remote yet, we can use the command git reset head, which assumes such parameter as a tilde or a caret. The amount of carets looks like these little ears, and the number of ears denotes how many commits back we need to move. If this number is very large, and the quantity of carets is difficult to count, then you can use the tilde and input a specific number here. Let's try using a specific number. Open git bash, run git reset head, and set the parameter as 1. Call git status, and it tells us that we have changes in the song.txt file. What does git log say? Git log doesn't display our commit at all, the one we performed today. So the most recent commit was on the 25th of October. So the one I did today is gone. Well, it didn't actually disappear, but we can see that. This is how we can do when we need to roll some changes back. So in the working directory, check out a clean for new files. In the staging area, we return files from the staging area to the working directory using the git reset command. And if we haven't committed it yet, then use amend commit or add stuff in using the command git reset, delete the commit entirely.